In 1973, CIA Director Richard Helms walked into the agency's record center and personally ordered the destruction of every document related to one of the most horrifying programs in American history. 7 boxes of files, thousands of pages, evidence of 20 years of illegal experiments on American citizens, all shredded, burned, erased from existence. Why? Because those documents proved that for 2 decades, the Central Intelligence Agency had been dosing unwitting Americans with LSD, subjecting mental patients to electroshock therapy powerful enough to erase their entire identities, torturing prisoners with sensory deprivation until they lost their minds, and attempting to create brainwashed assassins who could kill on command and remember nothing afterwards. This wasn't a conspiracy theory. This wasn't paranoid delusion. This was Project MK Ultra, and it really happened. The CIA admits it. Congress investigated it. Victims testified about it. And we only know about it because one filing clerk made a mistake and stored some financial documents in the wrong building, where they survived Helms' purge. If not for that accident, MK Ultra would have remained buried forever, a dark secret that the most powerful intelligence agency in the world would have successfully hidden from the American people for eternity. But they failed. The truth came out. And what we discovered is so disturbing, so unethical, so completely contrary to everything America claims to stand for, that it should have destroyed the CIA. People should have gone to prison. The agency should have been disbanded. Instead, almost everyone involved got away with it. They retired with full pensions. They lived comfortable lives. And many of them continued their research in secret under new code names in facilities we'll probably never know about. You're about to learn the full truth about MK Ultra. You're about to discover what the CIA did to your fellow citizens in the name of national security. You're about to understand how mind control isn't science fiction, it's documented history. And you're about to see proof that the program never really ended, it just went deeper underground. But before I reveal the horrifying details of what they did to those victims, if you want to discover more classified government programs they're desperately hiding, subscribe to this channel right now and hit that notification bell. Because they tried to destroy this story once, and they'd love nothing more than to make it disappear again. Don't let them. Let's begin. The year is 1950. The Cold War is just beginning. American soldiers captured in Korea are coming home telling bizarre stories of brainwashing. They confess to war crimes they didn't commit. They praise communist ideology they never believed in. They can't explain why they're saying these things. It's as if someone reached into their minds and rewrote their thoughts, their memories, their very identities. The Pentagon is terrified. The CIA is convinced that the Soviets and Chinese have discovered techniques to control human minds. And if America doesn't catch up immediately, we'll lose the Cold War before it really begins. In 1951, Allen Dulles became the CIA's chief of covert operations. Dulles was a Princeton graduate, a Wall Street lawyer, and a man with absolutely no ethical boundaries when it came to communism. He sent an early memo to senior CIA officers saying he wanted to explore augmenting the usual interrogation methods by the use of drugs, hypnosis, and electroshock. Let me repeat that. The head of CIA covert operations wanted to experiment with drugs, hypnosis, and electroshock on human subjects to develop better interrogation techniques. This wasn't some rogue scientist in a basement. This was official CIA policy from the very top. Dulles started Project Bluebird, which quickly evolved into Project Artichoke. The CIA opened secret prisons, what they now call black sites, in West Germany, Japan, and the Philippines. Places where they could experiment on prisoners, no oversight, no regulations, no laws to stop them. And who advised on these early experiments? General Walter Schreiber, the former Surgeon General of the Nazi Army, who had personally approved experiments at Auschwitz and Dachau concentration camps. America recruited a Nazi war criminal to teach our intelligence agency how to conduct human experiments on American soil. Think about that. The same country that prosecuted Nazis at Nuremberg for crimes against humanity was simultaneously hiring those same Nazis to continue their research on American soil. But the real horror began on April 13, 1953, when Allen Dulles, now CIA director, officially approved a program that would become the most sustained and systematic search for mind control techniques in human history. The program was codenamed MK Ultra. The MK stood for magic in CIA terminology, and the project's goals were ambitious and terrifying. Find drugs that would bring out deep confessions during interrogation. Find ways to erase someone's memory completely and reprogram them like a robot. Find techniques to make people commit murder on command and forget they ever did it. Create the perfect truth serum. Develop the perfect assassin. Control the human mind. The CIA put a man named Sidney Gottlieb in charge of MK Ultra. Gottlieb was a chemist who walked with a clubfoot and spoke with a stutter. His colleagues described him as brilliant, eccentric, and utterly ruthless.
Gottlieb believed that with the right combination of drugs, torture, and psychological manipulation, the human mind could be broken down and rebuilt however the CIA wanted. And he had virtually unlimited funding and no oversight whatsoever to pursue this goal. Congress gave MK Ultra a blank check and exempted it from normal financial controls. Gottlieb could spend millions of dollars on experiments without signing contracts or leaving paper trails. He could recruit researchers at universities without those researchers even knowing they were working for the CIA. And he could experiment on whoever he wanted, whenever he wanted, however he wanted. Gottlieb's first move was to secure America's entire supply of LSD. In the early 1950s, LSD was a new drug that had been discovered by accident at a Swiss pharmaceutical company. Very few people outside the scientific community knew it existed. Gottlieb convinced the CIA to spend $240,000, which in 2024 dollars would be over $4.2 million, to buy up every gram of LSD that Sandoz Laboratories in Switzerland was willing to sell. The CIA wanted to make sure no other country could get their hands on this potentially powerful mind-controlled drug. And once Gottlieb controlled the supply, he began spreading LSD everywhere. He gave it to prisoners. He gave it to mental patients. He gave it to drug addicts and prostitutes. He gave it to people in hospitals and clinics and addiction centers using CIA front organizations to fund the research. He even gave it to other CIA employees without their knowledge. And here's the absolutely crucial thing you need to understand. Most of these people had no idea they were being experimented on. They thought they were receiving legitimate medical treatment. They thought they were participating in drug rehabilitation programs. They thought they were seeing regular doctors for routine care. They had no idea that behind the scenes, the CIA was funding their treatment specifically to see how LSD and other drugs would affect the human mind. These weren't volunteers. These weren't consenting adults who agreed to participate in research. These were unwitting victims of illegal human experimentation conducted by their own government. Let me give you some specific examples of what the CIA actually did to people. In Kentucky, CIA researchers gave LSD to a mental patient for 174 consecutive days. Think about that. Nearly 6 months of constant LSD use. No one knows what that did to his brain, his sanity, his ability to function. The records were destroyed. In New York and San Francisco, the CIA set up what they called safe houses. They were actually brothels where CIA-employed prostitutes would bring men back for sex. Hidden behind two-way mirrors, CIA scientists would dose the men's drinks with LSD without their knowledge, then watch and record what happened. They called this Operation Midnight Climax, and it ran for years. The agency also targeted prisons. Prisoners are perfect test subjects from the CIA's perspective. They can't escape, they have no power, and if you offer them small benefits, shorter sentences, extra cigarettes, better food, they'll consent to almost anything. One of the most famous victims of MK-Ultra prison experiments was James Whitey Bulger, who would later become one of America's most notorious organized crime bosses. In 1957, Bulger was serving time at Atlanta Penitentiary when he volunteered for what he was told was an experiment to find a cure for schizophrenia. Instead, he was given LSD every single day for more than a year. Bulger later described the experience: 8 convicts in a panic and paranoid state, total loss of appetite, hallucinating, the room would change shape, hours of paranoia and feeling violent. We experienced horrible periods of living nightmares and even blood coming out of the walls. Guys turning to skeletons in front of me. I saw a camera change into the head of a dog. I felt like I was going insane. That's what the CIA did to an American citizen. And Bulger was just one of hundreds, possibly thousands of prisoners who were subjected to MK-Ultra experiments. But LSD was only the beginning. MK-Ultra also funded research into electroshock therapy, sensory deprivation, hypnosis, radiation, and dozens of other techniques designed to break the human mind. The most notorious of these experiments were conducted at McGill University in Montreal, Canada, by a psychiatrist named Dr. Ewen Cameron. Cameron was president of the American Psychiatric Association and one of the most respected mental health professionals in the world. He was also a CIA contractor, though he may not have fully known it. Cameron developed a technique he called psychic driving. Patients would be put into drug-induced comas for weeks at a time. While unconscious, they would be subjected to repeated tape-recorded messages played hundreds of thousands of times. The goal was to erase the patient's existing personality and implant new thoughts, new memories, new identities. Cameron also used what he called de-patterning, which involved electroshock therapy so powerful that it would cause complete amnesia. Patients would wake up not knowing who they were, where they were, or anything about their past lives. Cameron believed he could rebuild their personalities from scratch, curing mental illness by literally erasing the sick mind and creating a healthy one. Of course, it didn't work. What Cameron actually did was destroy people's lives.
Patients who entered his care with mild depression or anxiety would emerge as complete vegetables, unable to function, unable to remember their families, unable to hold jobs or live normal lives. One woman,
Linda MacDonald went to Cameron in 1963 suffering from postpartum depression. After 6 months of Cameron's treatment, she had lost all memory of the first 26 years of her life. She didn't recognize her husband. She didn't remember giving birth to her children. She had to relearn how to eat, how to use the toilet, how to read and write. Her entire identity had been erased, and the CIA funded every moment of this torture, paying Cameron $69,000 over several years to perfect his psychic driving technique. And if you're starting to realize how absolutely monstrous this was, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, because what I'm about to reveal about how they covered it all up will show you just how deep the corruption goes. Stay with me. Now you might be wondering, where was the oversight? Where were the ethics boards? Where were the congressional committees demanding accountability? The answer is simple. There were none. Alan Dulles and Sidney Gottlieb structured MKUltra specifically to avoid oversight. They used CIA front organizations with innocuous names like the Society for the Investigation of Human Ecology to funnel money to researchers. The researchers themselves often had no idea they were working for the CIA. They thought they were getting grants from private foundations or government health agencies. Universities like Stanford, Columbia, and dozens of others accepted CIA money and conducted CIA experiments without realizing they were part of a massive intelligence operation. Even within the CIA, knowledge of MKUltra was compartmentalized. Only a handful of people knew the full scope of the program. Gottlieb maintained almost no documentation and kept records to an absolute minimum. When contracts were signed, they were deliberately vague, never mentioning the true purpose of the research. When experiments were conducted, the results were reported through encrypted channels that left no paper trail connecting them back to the CIA. And most importantly, the experiments were never, ever conducted on CIA premises. They were farmed out to universities, prisons, hospitals, mental institutions, anywhere the CIA could maintain plausible deniability if something went wrong. And things did go wrong. Probably the most famous MKUltra death was Frank Olson, an Army biochemist working on classified projects for the CIA. In November 1953, Olson attended a meeting at a cabin in Maryland with other CIA scientists. Without Olson's knowledge, Sidney Gottlieb spiked his drink with LSD. Over the next week, Olson became increasingly paranoid and depressed. On November 28, 1953, he supposedly jumped out of a 13th floor window of the Hotel Statler in New York City and fell to his death. The CIA claimed it was suicide brought on by the LSD. Olson's family was told he died in an accident and given a small settlement to keep quiet. But decades later, evidence emerged suggesting Olson might have been murdered by the CIA. An investigation in the 1990s found that Olson's skull had injuries consistent with being hit with a blunt object before he went through the window. Olson's son, Eric, spent the rest of his life trying to prove his father was assassinated by the CIA because he knew too much about MKUltra and was threatening to go public. We'll probably never know the truth. but we do know that Frank Olson died as a direct result of CIA mind control experiments, and the government covered it up for 22 years. How many others died? We don't know. The records were destroyed. How many people's lives were permanently ruined? We don't know. The records were destroyed. How many children were experimented on? How many mentally disabled people were tortured? How many prisoners were driven insane? We don't know. Because in 1973, Richard Helms personally ordered every MK document destroyed. And by the time we found out about the program, it was too late to get the full truth. But here's what we do know. In 1963, the CIA's own Inspector General conducted an internal investigation of MK and concluded that the program was out of control. The report stated that the CIA had conducted experiments on unwitting, non-voluntary human subjects and recommended the program be terminated immediately. But here's the thing, the program didn't end. Not really. Sidney Gottlieb and Richard Helms, who was then Deputy Director for Plans, argued that the research should continue. They claimed that without realistic testing on unwitting subjects, the CIA's operational capability was diminishing. In other words, they knew the experiments were unethical. They knew people were being harmed, but they wanted to keep doing it anyway, because they thought it gave America an advantage over the Soviets. The official story is that MK ended in 1964, but evidence suggests aspects of the program continued under different names. MK Search, operated by the CIA's Office of Research and Development, carried on similar research into the 1970s. And even after MK officially ended, many of the techniques developed in the program found their way into CIA interrogation manuals. The infamous Kubark Counterintelligence Interrogation Manual, the CIA's guide to extracting information from prisoners, incorporated sensory deprivation, stress positions, and other torture techniques that were tested and refined during MK Ultra.
They covered it up. Most of the perpetrators faced no consequences, and the techniques they developed are still being used in CIA interrogations today. So why wouldn't they continue that research in secret? What reason do they have to stop when there's been virtually no accountability for what they have already done? This is why MK Ultra matters, not just as a historical atrocity, though it certainly is that, but as proof of what our government is capable of when operating in secrecy with no oversight. The CIA experimented on American citizens without their consent or knowledge. They tortured mental patients, prisoners, and ordinary people who trusted their doctors and thought they were receiving legitimate medical care. They destroyed evidence to avoid prosecution, and almost everyone involved got away with it completely. If we don't remember MK Ultra, if we don't study it, if we don't understand exactly what happened and why it was allowed to happen, then we guarantee it will happen again. Because the people who authorized these programs weren't monsters,
They were ordinary government officials who convinced themselves that the ends justified the means. They believed that mind control research was necessary to protect America from communist brainwashing. They told themselves that sacrificing a few hundred test subjects was acceptable if it gave America an advantage in the Cold War. And because they operated in complete secrecy with no oversight, there was no one to tell them they were wrong until it was too late. The lesson of MK Ultra isn't just that the CIA did terrible things. It's that secrecy enables atrocities. When government agencies operate without transparency, without oversight, without accountability, they inevitably abuse their power, every single time, without exception. And no amount of good intentions or patriotic rhetoric changes that fundamental truth. So what do we do about it? First, we educate ourselves and others. We make sure people know about MK Ultra. We make sure this history isn't forgotten or dismissed as ancient history. Because it's not ancient. The victims are still alive. The perpetrators only recently died. The techniques are still being used. This is not distant past. This is living memory. Second, we demand transparency. We file Freedom of Information Act requests. We support journalists who investigate intelligence abuses. We elect politicians who promise real oversight of the intelligence community and hold them to that promise. We refuse to accept national security as a blanket excuse for secrecy. Sometimes secrecy is necessary, but MK Ultra proved that unchecked secrecy leads to crimes against humanity. Third, we support victims and demand justice. There are still MK Ultra victims alive today who never received compensation or even acknowledgement of what was done to them. There are families who still don't know their loved ones were experimented on. We need to push for full declassification of remaining MK Ultra documents. We need to demand that the CIA identify as many victims as possible and provide them with compensation and medical care. And we need to make sure that everyone who knew about MK Ultra and covered it up faces consequences, even if those consequences come decades late. Fourth, and most importantly, we never stop watching. We never stop asking questions. We never trust that intelligence agencies have learned their lesson and won't abuse their power again, because history shows they will. The CIA ran MK Ultra for 20 years, got caught, promised to do better, and then used MK Ultra techniques in interrogations 30 years later. They haven't learned. They haven't changed. They've just gotten better at hiding what they do. MK Ultra was real. The CIA tortured American citizens in illegal mind control experiments for 2 decades. They destroyed the evidence. The perpetrators faced no consequences, and the program probably never really ended. These aren't conspiracy theories. These are documented facts that the CIA itself admits. The only question is, what are they doing right now that we won't find out about for another 50 years. What programs are running in secret facilities with no oversight, no accountability, and no one to stop them from repeating the horrors of MKUltra? The answer is we don't know, but we should be demanding to find out. Because if we learned anything from MKUltra, it's that when we trust intelligence agencies to operate in complete secrecy, they will abuse that trust every time. And the victims of that abuse are our fellow citizens, people who trusted their government, people who believed America stood for freedom and human rights, people who never imagined their own country would torture them in the name of national security. If this investigation into the CIA's darkest secret has opened your eyes to what your government is capable of, then subscribe to this channel right now and activate notifications. Share this video with everyone you know. Comment below with your thoughts on MKUltra. And most importantly, never stop questioning authority. Never stop demanding transparency. Never stop fighting for accountability. Because the moment we stop watching, the moment we stop caring, is the moment they start another MKUltra. And next time, they'll make sure there are no documents left to find. They'll make sure there are no witnesses left to testify. They'll make sure the truth stays buried forever. The victims of MKUltra deserve to be remembered.
Their story deserves to be told, and we deserve to know the full truth about what our government has done and continues to do in the shadows. Don't let them forget. Don't let them hide. Don't let them get away with it again.